hereditary leaders, matriarchs, chiefs, members of council, special guests and dignitaries. I want to begin by acknowledging the Nuu-chah people and the Nuu-chah-nulth. And I'd like to say it's an honor and a privilege to be here as President of the Union of BC Indian Chiefs to stand in complete and full solidarity with Nuu-chah-nulth people as they express their outrage in relation to the unilateral funding cuts on the part of the Harper government. Without question, these funding cuts represent yet another chapter in the sordid, ugly, nasty campaign that the Harper government has been waging against Aboriginal people across this country as they have attained a majority government. As the previous leaders have indicated, this is a complete contradiction and flies in the face of the commitments that were made by the Prime Minister at the Crown First Nation gathering in January, where hundreds and hundreds of First Nations leaders, elders, came together and heard the words of Prime Minister Harper insofar as his commitment to reset the relationship with the Aboriginal people of this country. Yet since that time, we have witnessed a progression of unilateral legislation that has consistently, deliberately, and purposely eroded our Aboriginal and treaty rights across this country. Now we're facing a progression of funding cuts at the national level, at the regional and provincial level, at the tribal level, and soon to be at the community level itself. On the one hand, Mr. Harper talks about the need for openness and transparency with respect to the affairs of the Indigenous people of this country, yet on the other hand, this same man is traveling around the world having behind closed doors with other countries and entering into free trade agreements with respect to the land and resources that are encumbered by our unextinguished Aboriginal title, interests, and the treaty rights of the First Nations people across this country. And these free trade agreements are not even a subject of debate within the House of Commons itself. Absolute hypocrisy on the part of the Harper government. Furthermore, the Harper government has brought forward omnibus legislation that has, in the instance of Bill C-38, completely gutted the environmental assessment protections across this country and has astonishingly removed habitat protection from the Fisheries Act. And this bill was followed quickly by another omnibus bill, C-45, which removes federal responsibility from approximately 33,000 lakes, rivers, and streams. So if one were to connect the dots, the Harper government is waging a vicious war against the Aboriginal people of this country in an effort to pave the way for massive resource development with respect to the oil and gas industry, pipelines, dams, mines, and other energy projects. Mr. Harper has an obsession with becoming an energy superpower within the context of world governments at the expense of Aboriginal people. We are the single voice that is effectively bringing forward our constitutional and legally upheld rights to oppose these free trade agreements, to oppose this bargaining away of our lands and resources without any consideration for our Indigenous land rights. And I believe that the Harper government has decided that that voice needs to be silenced. And that is part of why the effort is being put forward to undermine and to destroy the voice, the organized voice of Aboriginal people. And we will not stand idly by and watch the integrity of the environment within our respective territories be jeopardized. We do not stand alone. There are hundreds of thousands of people across this country and throughout the province of British Columbia that stand in solidarity with the Aboriginal people of British Columbia, and we are proud to be in the front ranks of that movement to oppose the Harper government and everything that it represents. And that is why I have traveled from Penticton in the south central part of British Columbia to be here this morning to stand in solidarity with the Nuu-chah-nulth people, because without question the Harper government has picked a fight with the wrong people, and the Harper government is going to lose this battle that they have initiated, not only with the Indigenous people of this country, but with all of the citizens of this country. So I am so proud to stand here with these good people here today. Why Limlimt?
Thank you, Stuart. We'll also have a few brief comments from Dan Smith from the First Nation Summit.
Really sad. I think we've heard it all. And what we need to do now is mobilize. Well, first of all, before I get into that, thank you, Chiefs. I'm just so ticked off with this. And thank you, Shishak, for allowing us here to have this gathering to voice our concerns with respect to the funding cuts to the Nuu-chah-nulth. There are 21 tribal councils in British Columbia. Each one has faced a cut, but not as deep as the Nuu-chah-nulth. But still, that's going to affect the disposable income that is there for the families, therefore contributions to the municipalities, to the cities, contribution to the small non-Aboriginal businesses. That's going to really rally our troops with respect to the next election in 3 years' time. What we need to do is gather and mobilize ourselves around dismantling the conservative government of Stephen Harper and his fortunes of fame with respect to the members of Parliament that are in British Columbia. We will have our say. We will have our say in Ottawa come December. The Assembly of First Nations will be gathering the chiefs, and this is going to be one of the higher priorities with respect to voicing our concern to Harper and his members of Parliament. On behalf of Grand Chief Ed John, Chief Doug White from the First Nation Summit, as well as the chiefs of the summit, we will then be discussing this very issue at our next summit meeting, and the chiefs will give us direction as to how we're going to dismantle the government of Canada through Stephen Harper as a conservative. So our hearts go out to many of the isolated remote communities, as was said. This really does impact those isolated remote First Nation communities as well as those in the urban areas. But more so, just the human well-being of the First Nations and their families. And it will be very interesting to identify the numbers of families that are going to be impacted, affected in a negative way with respect to these cuts. So we throw the Canada's Job Action Plan out the window, and he brings in all of the cuts to the Nuu-chah-nulth as well as the other tribal councils. So again, on behalf of the First Nation Summit, we will react, we will rally around the Nuu-chah-nulth so that we are able to look 3 years down the road and say, forget it, Stephen Harper and John Duncan. So I want to thank you, the President, the Nuu-chah-nulth, as well as the Nuu-chah-nulth people. We will continue to rally around and work together, do what we do together what we cannot do alone. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. So as mentioned, those individuals that spoke are available to do one-on-one interviews with the media if you're interested. And I'd also like to acknowledge our staff. A lot of the people you see standing back here are staff of the Nuu-chah-nulth Tribal Council. Once again, thank you all for coming out to talk about this very important issue for our people. And yeah, so have a great day, and thank you. Chew.
We have a